Inwards, outward. Inwards, out.
November 8th, Deb Kaufman is going to have a show of her work at a little old place called Norman Rockwell. And she can sit right along Norm, in my opinion. There's a food donation box in the front room. There isn't. There aren't anymore. And this is a digital thing. It could have been so easily. It's so easy to find criticism with each other, isn't it? This was digital. It could have been. You can sign up for emails with the marvelous Denise right here. If there was the making of IWOW movie, it would all be an interview with Denise. As she would say, they're always looking for people who are doing what I am doing right now, which we call a host. We have a way, if there is no one of self-hosting, so we're not going to be stopped because no one felt like doing it this time. This is August 5th. And now I'm going to say something solemn that will end in pointing to my Tibetan bell here. As most of you are aware, we've been celebrating 80th anniversaries of World War II things since at least D-Day last year. And August 6th is the moment of the Hiroshima bomb dropping. I got curious about it when I saw the date here and did a little research. Didn't take much to figure out that from facts that are very well established, that the bombs away command was given over Hiroshima at 8:15 in the morning on August 6th. 8:15 in the morning in Hiroshima is happening in 10 minutes from right now. And IWOW somehow has this synchronous thing that we meet when things are happening. So to have it happen at the beginning of our event. So Paul and I have been talking about it for a while. He's going to start. And he won't mind if he's still talking, if he's still working with us at 7:15 when I will, as the Thich Nhat Hanh's people like to say, I will invite the bell. Paul Salovey will be then followed by Amelia Sadlowski. Thank you for coming back. Okay, so we have to change that, Paul.
I'm going to try to give what was just said some context. Woo. Okay? Is that all right? Yes. Okay. All right.
If you keep your chin up.
It all started in 1905 when a young Jewish German physicist named Albert Einstein theorized E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. 40 years later, the destructive evolution of that formula, the Manhattan Project, produced the world's first atomic bomb. And on this date, August 5th here, 6th in Japan, as was just explained, 80 years ago, that bomb carried in the belly of the Enola Gay was dropped on Hiroshima, wiping out most of the city and tens of thousands of its citizens. But in 1950, that far-reaching fallout of the bomb would continue as it destroyed a family that lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, the Rosenbergs, Julius and Ethel, and their two sons, Michael, 7, and Robert, 3. The fallout, of course, was the Great Red Scare. That some American commie would give Soviet Russia the secret of how to make an A-bomb. And the Rosenbergs seemed to fit the bill. Julius was an avid communist. His wife, a union organizer. He had been an electrical engineer who worked for the U.S. Army during World War II. His brother-in-law was a machinist who had worked at Los Alamos. Michael, the son, had remembered listening to one of his favorite radio shows. It could have been The Shadow Knows. When the FBI burst into the apartment and arrested their dad. His 3-year-old brother was probably crying. A short time later, their mother, Ethel, was also hauled away in a bid to make Julius confess. But Ethel and Julius never did. They confessed their innocence. The kids were shuttled between their two grandmothers and even placed in the Hebrew home for children at times. You can imagine how difficult it would be for them in school and on the playground. The name Rosenberg was synonymous with traitor. One parent remarked, "You're that Rosenberg kid. Your father and mother are dirty spies. Stay away from my boy." The Rosenbergs were charged with conspiracy to commit espionage. That means they didn't do it, but tried to do it. They were convicted on the flimsiest of evidence, and despite worldwide protests, even the Pope lent his voice, both Truman and Ike refused clemency, and the Rosenbergs were put to death in the electric chair. Many ironies must be noted. The prosecution team included one Roy Cohn, later to be the Donalds' lawyer and dark mentor. The couple that adopted the Rosenberg boys were Abel and Anne Meeropol. Abel was the composer and lyricist of the Billie Holiday classic, Strange Fruit. The kids gratefully changed their name to Meeropol. No spy was ever executed in peacetime. only in a declared war against a specific foe. The Rosenbergs died as idealists. In a last letter to their sons, they wrote, "Your lives must teach you too that good cannot flourish in the midst of evil, that freedom must sometimes be purchased very dearly." In the early years of this century, Michael was a contributing commentator on WAMC out of Albany. Coincidentally, I would occasionally call in and offer my viewpoint. I never realized who he was, though we are the same age. His life experience and traumas make him and his brother so much older than me.
We're not a faith community exactly, so it's not appropriate to control anyone's thoughts. Control is the wrong word. Influence is the right word, thank you. So we don't have to be right to the second, it doesn't, it's all symbolic. And in close to the amount of seconds, which is 43, I didn't measure my bell, but it's 43 seconds from bombs away was his sentence to when this piece of amazing technology, which birthed us into the age that has totally defined my life and ours. Before that exploded at 1,968 feet above the target, which was a military target. 5 days later, all the light gray here is nothing but dust. You look at the maps today, it's all built up, amazing, busy city with one item, which was a major military location that didn't get fully destroyed, and it's been built around. You can go there, as I'm sure it's packed right at this moment as we speak, by people from all over the world.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. Good to see everyone. I've missed you, but life keeps me moving other directions, so that's what happens. But I really wanted to be here tonight. Yesterday was my birthday. Woo! Another circle around the sun, right? And I was very happy for that. A friend took me to dinner, and I was supposed to swim in her pool, but I was full of stuff from the Canadian fires, so it didn't work for me. But today it's better, and I can always swim in her pool. So, life goes on. When I thought I was going to share tonight, what came up for me was far from who I am today. I was thinking of a previous birthday and how crazy I was. I'm sure all of you were around in the 60s, right? And you know what it was like then. And for me, alcohol was a big part of it. And much too big. I've been sober 47 years, so, I'm not there anymore. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, it was a tough, anyway, I thought it was fun to do a lot of drinking. And I remember this one birthday, I was working at Sparks Steakhouse. And we could convince the bartender to give us what looked like soda, but it wasn't. I was a big Campari drinker, too. So it looked like, strawberry soda, who knows. Anyway, I had no boundaries then. I had no idea when to stop. And so I didn't. And they were going to take me to dinner for my birthday. And first I was drinking at the bar before we left, and then I went home for a minute and I fell asleep on the couch, right? And the phone rings and they said, "Where are you? We're at the restaurant. We're waiting for you." And so I had to get myself up and get a cab and go down to the restaurant. And of course I was there to drink. And I could not see the people who were supporting me then, who were kind, who wanted to celebrate with me, because alcohol became very important to me. And I'm so grateful those days are gone. And I don't have to be that. Last night, a dear friend said, "Come swim in my pool." Well, I was all clogged up from the Canadian fires or whatever they were. But so instead of swimming, but she said, "And I want to take you to dinner." So we went to dinner last night, and I was sober, and I was very happy. I even tasted the food, I could tell you what I ate too, and remember. Anyway, I can't tell you how grateful I am those days are no longer here in my life, and that I have you folks who, when I came back tonight, so many of you welcomed me, and it meant so much to me. I was important to you, and I'm a triple Leo. I need that. Just saying. And and don't ask me how old I am, because I am immortal. And you ain't getting more than that from me. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and welcoming me back. And it's great to see each one of you. So thanks, guys.
Marla will be Amelia. Now, Sonia, and then Sonia Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey.
Okay, can everybody hear me? All right. You might know that I've been working on this book.
I think it's that microphone.
It's the other microphone.
Just saying.
Okay. Well, let's see. There we go. Oh, no, it's kind of drooping. Because this one was at my level. Let's see.
Are you working on a book? Yes, we do know.
Okay, many of you have heard sections of this book. It's based on this house that I moved into not that long ago. And I've had the assistance of IWOW. IWOW is an AI configuration, and I have dialogue with him. And IWOW is a contraction of the word amanuensis, which means a secretary. Okay. So this is a different room. This is called the weed room. Since you've been talking about... I enter this room the way some enter a confessional, slowly, deliberately, sometimes with guilt, more often with anticipation. The door isn't visible to others. There's no knob, no lock, but I know exactly how to find it. It opens not with a key, but with a flick of the lighter, a long inhale, and the silence that follows. This is not a room of action. It's a room of suspension, a liminal space closer to womb than world, where the ordinary rules fall away. No lists, no clocks. Here the air grows thick, and my thoughts loosen their tight braids. This is where I come to bypass the judging mind, the grasping hand. It's where I come to play. I reach for it, the black Indian pouch embroidered with golden thread, my zippered reliquary. Inside, an old black film canister with cleaned weed, my pipe, a poker, a lighter. I unzip it slowly. I don't always smoke, but sometimes, like today, I need help crossing over. I've always had a complicated relationship with cannabis, half religious, half shameful. I smoke not to get high exactly, but to drop below the floorboards, to bypass the gatekeeper, the inner cop, the perfectionist, the self-scolder. It opens to the place where my voice lives, curled and half awake, waiting to be coaxed out. A single puff, two at most. Just lost my place. Two at most. Enough to shift the light, to make me laugh at my own fear, enough to remember that writing is not a test. I pack the bowl with care. Maybe I laid it, maybe I just hold it. It's not about being stoned. It's a spell. I didn't smoke in college. I was a late bloomer. A few hits here and there passed around at parties, but I never bought it, never smoked alone, not then. It wasn't until I met C.D.B. Bryan, Cortland Dixon Barnes Bryan III, Cordy. He taught the only fiction writing workshop I ever attended at the Writers Community in New York City. He was my first WASP prince from Connecticut. Pale blonde wisps of straight hair, round glasses, a light linen suit that fit him like a second skin. He loved the early pages of my first novel, Teen Angel, the street language, the outrageousness, the humor. He said, "When you give me 100 pages, I'll show them to my agent, Carl D. Brandt," which I did, writing like a banshee, which he did. My first break. That was 1976, I think. Before class, I'd sometimes find him in the cloakroom lighting a joint, sometimes alone, sometimes with another student. He always invited me in. He smoked before teaching, writing, weed, and intellect. Yes. After class, we'd go to Elaine's. Yes, that Elaine's, 3rd Avenue, writers' photographs on the wall, Woody Allen at the next table, Roy Scheider with a woman in a white turban. Cordy would tell people I was a promising new writer, even Elaine, who looked dubious. But he'd say it anyway, and we'd drink and we'd eat. I sat there, a little stoned, a little stunned, thinking, this is it, Cinderella with her dream of a semi-famous writer. And I wasn't even sleeping with him. Yet. Later we'd meet at the Yale Club. Now I smoke alone, often at night, sometimes at the end of a long writing day. I lie on the couch, the old fan humming softly above me, the pouch by my side, the pipe in my hand. I stare at the stained glass dragon window which came with the house in the right corner of my studio. Orange wings, scaled green body that slithers down with the forked green tail, yellow claws, bright red lips with white pointy teeth, and a long snake-like tongue eyeball a shiny topaz. She glitters in the corner of my studio, catching the last light. My dragon femme, my own bejeweled witness. Tell me about dragons, I dictate. Amu begins. In myth, dragons are never just monsters. They guard treasure. They hoard gold, yes, but not just coins, sacred knowledge, lost memory, the power you gave up long ago. In Eastern traditions, the dragon is wise, celestial, benevolent, a bringer of rain, a master of the elements. In the West, it's often the beast to be slain, but even then the slaying is symbolic. To kill the dragon is to overcome fear, to enter adulthood, to claim your power. And for women, the dragon has always been more complicated. She is a fire breather, yes, but also midwife. She births herself through smoke. She says, I'm not here to please you, I am here to test you. You've slayed dragons before, Sonia, it addresses me, but this one you didn't kill. She was installed in stained glass in your studio. You gave her light. Tonight, as I exhale a small, silvery breath and lie still beneath the fan, I don't move. I don't speak. I just absorb all the shimmer around me. Thank you.
You've heard this before. You've heard this before. When I was a god, I was purple and golden and shining. When I was a god, my butterfly, angel, fairy wings flowed behind me, trailing plumes of sparkling rainbow light everywhere I flew. When I was a god, I wore feathers in my hair and bones and stones around my neck. When I was a god, my roaring laughter caused flowers to bloom and lovers to swoon, and just a glimpse of my smile was enough to obliterate the fiercest of demons. When I was a god, I knew all the secrets of the universe. When we were gods, we played with the stars like so many shiny baubles rolling off our skin, lingering on our eyelids, dissolving into blissful bursts of neon light. When we were gods, the magic and the mystery of the ancient ones was not just on the tips of our tongues, but at our disposal. When we were gods, we distilled our tears into elixirs that healed all the parts of us. When we were gods, we sang from our depths out into the darkness, shattering the illusion of separation, infusing the cosmos with the light of the eternal one. When we were gods, we did not have to choose love over fear because we were way over that whole fucking thing. When we were gods, we didn't worry about making the right choices or who to invite to dinner on Thursday night or whether or not we were important or what our purpose was or how to control our chocolate addictions. When we were gods, we didn't worry. We didn't worry. When we were gods, We loved our mother and felt her rhythm as the blood coursing through our veins, as the swing of branches in a spring breeze, as the knowing in our bones that we are part of her. We are her. When we were gods, we held our children close, whispered magic words in their ears, let them just be themselves in all their perfect beingness. When we were gods, we were fed by the crystal nectar of the moon, the fiery blaze of the sun, and by Vayu, the wind of life itself. When we were gods, we danced and sang and made love and wept tears of joy for our Creator and our miraculous selves. When we were gods, we didn't need words anymore. We spoke in hums and purrs and melodies, both ancient and yet to come. When we were gods, we bowed to the grace of goodness and light in our hearts. And when we prayed, whoa, miracles happened. When I was a god, I remembered an age when things seemed limited and dark and contracted and, well, just really bleak. Just thinking about it would cause my glorious self to expand even more into love. Even more into love. When I was a god, swirling and twirling in the heavens, ecstatic with bliss and love for all things, I knew for sure that there was no difference between me and God. When I was a god, I was purple and golden and shining. Thank you.
Well, that's some slam poetry there, wouldn't you say? It really is. And next is such a poet, as we know, host last time, Linda Lodica, good enough, said, and which is the best. Yeah. And so, Linda Lodica. And then after that is Mindy Upton. Linda.
Okay, so I guess I'm about the same height as Kristen. That's good. So I'm going to read one about something a lot of us like to do. My vessel is a kayak. My vessel is indigo blue, pond, lake, slow stream, chop on a windy day. I paddle. My vessel is sapphire blue, waters calm. I drift through lily pads, schools of sunfish. I paddle. My vessel is lapis blue, a diligent paddler's stroke. Dragonflies alight on the bow. I paddle. My vessel is azure blue, like the sky's vast expanse. Shorelines seem to open wide. I paddle. My vessel is royal blue. Narrow passageways lead to docks. I glide to the shore. I paddle. My vessel is navy blue. In this aqueous dream, I float down canals in Venice, Amsterdam, Paris's tunnel of love. I paddle. My vessel is cornflower blue, like a rooted plant wanting no more than to be watered and wetted. I paddle. My vessel is aquamarine, like a captain's ship. It murmurs the sound of the sea. I paddle. My vessel is cyan blue. It's run aground, dry docked, stored like a precious jewel. I've paddled. Now this was one I wrote in the spring because I always think about, I love standing and looking at rivers when the snow is melting and the ice is melting and it's ferocious, and I tried to make this like it was about energy, but I don't know how successful I was. And it's very short. Ritual of drift after the thaw. Raging river explodes over vertical drop, mimics a roller coaster's terrifying frenzy. Downstream water recedes into calm, a contemplative ritual of drift, a slow crawl seaward. Like an exit door to somewhere, river is engulfed, swallowed into ocean, an interminable amalgamation. Thank you.
My first time, this is my second time. Does anybody know who the Hibakusha are? Hibakusha. They were the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And about 15 or more years ago, there was a May Day parade in the city, and a group that I'm part of was asked, physicians, was asked to be with them because they were old and infirm, and they were going to be marching up to Central Park. And so I met the Hibakusha, and it was really just an amazing experience. And it was so funny because I met them with a couple of other physicians, and they thanked me. I said, don't thank me. I mean, what you have gone through was really extraordinary. So it just, when we were talking about Hiroshima, having met the Hibakushas, I just wanted to mention it was quite an experience. And one other thing, Puff the Magic Dragon. Okay, so anyway, this is a book that I just published, a chapter of which I read last time. This is the first chapter, which actually was originally published in the Times, in the cases section. And it's called Always a Doctor, Even in the Dying of the Light. Kenny, I want you to see something. As he spoke, my father pulled up a corner of the bandage on his right forearm. I watched a BB-sized rent in his skin glisten and begin to bleed. Now feel my blood, he told me. It's cold. I looked at his face and then back at his arm, unsure how to proceed. The limb was bruised and discolored, damaged by countless needle sticks and transfusions. We were sitting in the bedroom of his home in Florida. I'd flown down the day before, Sunday, after my mother called to say it appeared that his long-standing, dangerously low blood counts were finally bringing his life to an end. My brother Neil and I had spent the night in his room. We had comforted him when paroxysms of abdominal cramping caused him to cry out as he dozed. We had cleaned him as we silently glanced at each other to confirm that his internal bleeding seemed to have stopped. Now it was Monday afternoon, and with eyes fixed on me, he was talking about how even though he had retired as a physician years before, he still prided himself on keeping up with the latest in medicine. At that moment, it struck me that his body and its skewed hematologic functions had become fascinating to him in a detached, scientific way, and I realized there was no way I could refuse his request. I reached my hand out toward the wet circle pooling on his forearm. You're right, it is cold. It is cold, I said, as my finger touched the congealing wound, and I tried, in my own scientific way, to figure out how that could be. Watch and see what that looks like tomorrow, he announced, the parameters of this latest medical experiment on his body now having been fully defined to his satisfaction. By Tuesday, my father seemed stable enough for Neil and me to fly home. My brother Mark and his son Ben came later that day to take up the filial watch. Early Wednesday morning, my father began bleeding again, this time uncontrollably. Mark called the immediate family and everyone flew down. When we arrived, Mark told us about the nightmarish vigil he and Ben had just kept. Despite my father's pain, despite a psychic state that had him talking to an unseen man in the room, a man who seemed to be his own father, despite Mark's telling him that it was okay to die, a reassurance met with a loud no. Despite all this, he spent his last hours refusing to consent to hospice care. Finally, even he could bear it no longer. He accepted the morphine and the sedative, and his pain abated. My mother laid down next to him, kissed him, and told him she loved him. Tears came to his eyes and he stopped breathing. As my brothers later told me, both they and my father shared my conviction that his bone marrow failure was caused by his lifelong exposure to radiation. He was a radiologist for 50 years. Yet he still received marrow-stimulating medications, submitted to transfusions when the drugs failed to work, and kept on moving, defiantly fighting the dying of the light. No longer able to play golf, he plunged into bridge games and kibitzing with his friends in the clubhouse in their community. At his memorial service, we heard how he had pushed to ensure that emergency medical service call buttons were placed throughout the club. Until the week he died, he and I had our Sunday phone conversations about that day's talk shows. I don't know how he stayed alive so long with blood counts that I, as an emergency physician, associate only with patients at the edge of death. I don't know why his blood felt cold. And most of all, I don't know why his dying brought no tears to my eyes. Was it because after his memorial service, determined to celebrate his life, my brothers and I bought champagne, and then, at my mother's request, went into his closet, tried on his old clothes, and staged a spontaneous fashion show, causing the assembled wives and grandchildren, and my mother, to laugh for an uproarious hour? Or was it because he died at home, surrounded by those he loved, in such stark contrast to what I had experienced so often at work, all those patients circling the drain, on trips between nursing home and emergency room, and then dying alone with no one to feel their blood turn cold?
Yeah. Anyway, I've got a couple pieces here. The first one is about my father, and Okay. It's called Junk. My father liked to throw junk, scroogies, forkballs, the knuckle change. He liked to see the power guys look like linguine, twirled and twisted, coiled and devoured. He liked it when the catcher opted for the big mitt. My old man smiled wryly when the wily had to wait and wait. When they had to strain so as not to shift their weight too soon. When they had to think long thoughts such as the vector sum of all the pitcher's moving parts terminates in a resultant velocity focused in his fingertips, which is transferred to the baseball as linear velocity, which is significantly impacted by the rotation of the seam spheroid relative to air resistance, which in turn is affected by wind direction, air temperature, and humidity within the 60 feet, 6-inch distance through which the ball travels on its devious meander from mound to plate. My pop liked it best when those long thoughts were disrupted by short thoughts, such as, oh shit, and strike three! This is a remembrance of the poet Gertrude Halstead, who was poet laureate of Worcester for a while, and she's passed away now, but she didn't start writing until she was, I think, in her 60s, before she wrote a poem. And anyway, I saw her at the Oasis in Worcester. And this is for her. It's called Sunday at the Oasis. The old woman stands as tall as sunlight, as weathered as winter's moon. She praises morning dew. She salutes bowing flowers. She sings hymns to our mutilated world. Her mango smile rages. Her words open, float like lotuses upon a pond's face. She fans her memories like a deck of cards. She offers I choose the dream of O'Keeffe's sun-blown bones. We collect her tears. We count each blossom. 24, 5, 6. We thread them as garlands. We cast them on strong winds. And this is called Esta Poema. Para los cuatro muleros y mis tres hijos. This poem was written at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This poem sits alongside yours at a very long table. This poem is potluck. Like you, this poem gives away its end, yet just the same manages to surprise itself. This poem takes about 3 minutes to explain time. This poem owes allegiance to no particular flag, a no bandera específica. This poem is neither male nor female, foreign nor domestic. This poem cannot, like a rope, hang your laundry, crush your windpipe, or coil at your feet. This poem avoids fast food. It breathes moonlight, features its enemies, marches out of step, and ciphers in its head. This poem cannot, like a false premise, hold you prisoner or, like an ignorant obligation, bind you. In its youth, lies were as ubiquitous as are the deceits of its advancement. This poem laughs at the funhouse mirrors called nationalities. This poem cries at the funeral of the family farm. This poem sits in summer streams, drifts like autumn leaves, tunnels beneath the snowpack, and rains on your parade. This poem sees mangled corpses floating in seldom used swimming pools of weekend places. Ownership is Ozymandian. Money is not free speech. It's damned expensive speech. Even in the daylight, cuídate los vampiros. Miss Scarlet don't know nothing about birth and no babies neither. Least of all, Miss Scarlet. This poem is post-chrysalis. This poem answers each and every question. This poem questions each and every answer. This poem avoids nothing. This poem calls dibs on your heart and your mind, as if there is a difference. In its time, this poem sleeps between silk sheets. In its time, this poem sleeps beneath cardboard blankets. This poem stands knee-deep in quicksand. When no one is looking, this poem walks on water. This poem changes words but remains the same poem. John Locke said, life, liberty, and property. 70 years later, Tom Jefferson revised life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Obviously, neither of these guys was a poet. This is an outback poem. This poem is the earth as it appeared hundreds of thousands of years ago. This poem arose from star-covered Olduvai, only to collecting clouds, fill the seas, collecting clouds, fill the seas, collecting clouds. This poem suckles sweetness. This poem eats shit. This poem was born in the garden. This poem dies in a fucking traffic accident a las 5 de la tarde. Thank you.
So you're all in the band now. And we're going to do an old tradition, well, sort of traditional. It was written by Elizabeth Cotton. Lots of you might know this song. It's called Freight Train. And let's see if we can, we're almost there, honey. There's still stuff in there, right? Okay, let's get everybody an instrument. We're almost there. For those of you who know the song, and for those of you who don't, we're going to find our rhythm. And then I want you to just kind of feel like you're on the train. You know? Anytime you want to choo-choo a little. Let me hear you. A little more. Let's find our rhythm. Yeah, you got those rhythm instruments. And this is the chorus. Freight train, rolling so fast. Freight train, rolling so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on so they won't know where I'm gone. Freight train, rolling so fast. Freight train, rolling so fast. Please don't tell. Please don't tell what train I'm on, so they won't know where I'm gone. You got the chorus? Let's do it again. Freight train, going, rolling so fast. You can say going. Freight train, going so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on, so they won't know where I'm gone. Freight train coming round the bend. Freight train coming back again. Freight train, going round the bend. Freight train, coming back again. One of these days, turn that train around. One of these days, turn that train around and go back to my hometown. Here comes that chorus. Freight train, rolling so fast. Freight train, rolling so fast. Please don't tell. Please don't tell what train I'm on, so they won't know where I'm gone. So now this train is called number 9, by the way. Okay, number 9. Do you remember that? One more place I'd like to be. One more place I'd like to see. One more place that I'd like to be. One more place that I'd like to see. To watch them old Blue Ridge Mountains climb. To watch them old Blue Ridge Mountains climb. When I ride old number. Freight train, rolling so fast. Freight train, rolling so fast. Please don't tell. Please don't tell what train I'm on. And I won't know where I'm gone. Okay, one more verse. When I die, Lord, bury me deep, down at the end of Chestnut Street. Bury me deep, down at the end of old Chestnut Street, where I can hear old number 9. Where I can hear old number 9 as she comes down, as she comes down the line. Freight train, rolling so fast. Freight train, rolling so fast. Please don't tell what train it. Please don't tell. Please don't tell what train I'm on, so they won't know where I'm. Big finish. Gone. My thumb pick fell off at the very end. It hung on there till the very end. Thank you, everybody, for singing. Singing together helps to move energy. And God knows we got to keep moving the energy in this world. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Kitty, and I did try to follow the prompt. So, in the middle of all the energy, my name is Kitty. And now I'm going to try again. How's that? Better? Am I close enough? All right. I'll get right on it. In the middle of all the energy, I spotted a precious moment. What is energy? I go to the Oxford English Dictionary Unabridged, known as the OED, with all these prompts. Energy appears to be a word without much archaic history. The first definition is associated with physics. There is something to be measured. Max Weber, a sociologist, simplistically offered this formula: power equals energy over time. And in Weber's construct, power is the capacity to create a desired outcome within a social relationship. It requires energy with duration. So what? Energy can stir the pot and muddy the waters. Energy can shock, even kill. Energy exists in contrast with calm, quiet stillness. One of my characteristics as a person has always been I am energetic, active, enthusiastic, working and moving with momentum, creating awake, burning calories, dynamic, zestful, spirited, passionate, vibrant. Those are my words. Others could say, or might say, or even have said, where the hell is the off switch? Or too much, too fast. Or shh. Or give me a chance to reply. Or don't burn bridges. The hard part, the balancing act, it is important for the energetic person to be mindful of context, aware of boundaries, and to be appropriate in the situation. Mindful, to be mindful, to wait, to pause. If the mind is stirred up, lots going on, many different thoughts, chatter, juggling, twirling, this requires energy to maintain, a constant stream of energy. Juggling can derail good work. Details can be dropped, lost, left behind. Energy misdirected becomes a distraction, an interruption. The hum of worn tread on pavement, the squeal of a slipped brake shoe, an accident brewing. Pause, mindfulness, being mindful. Antidote to muddied water and pot stirring. Put the container of water down. In stillness, the silt will settle to the bottom. The water will clear. Turn the burner off. Put the spoon down. Sit. Breathe. I've always wondered why, in the development of a mindfulness practice, I was asked to focus on the breath. Why not something more interesting? Here, the breath is always present. I always breathe. Wherever I am breathing. No matter what I do, I am breathing. Breath is always with me. When I remember, I can always return to it. And I will be in the present when I return, intentionally in the present with my breath. Sometimes with energy, I am focused on one task. Then my energy can be an enormous asset as the task is accomplished. This brings me back to Weber's definition. Power equals energy over time. When I keep the energy on the task is well done. When the pot is being stirred, people triggering me, or the water is muddied, I return to my breath. I close my speech down and listen. Vigilant in present awareness, I listen. This is always worth doing. Energy is then an asset. In the middle of all the energy, I spotted a precious moment.
And the painting is called Lost Children of Ukraine. So I tried to put it to music. Nothing but us, island rock to make your bed, curling up to ward off the dread. Storm is forming above your head. The lightning cracks, the thunder roars. The sea is rising on walls of stone. You're thinking how you came to be here now. No home, no love, no family, alone on this bed of stone. Your only hope is dare to dream of what you might be on your family tree. Branches along on your family tree. Doctor, a lawyer, a mother who's strong, a teacher, a preacher, a righter of wrongs, an artist, a carver, a composer of song, a poet, a writer to pull us along. We grieve for the children we've lost. We grieve for the children we lose day after day after day. Could it be real? Could it be true? Could she be the one to show us the way out of the darkness and into the sun? Nothing but an island rock to make your bed, curling up to ward off the dread. The storm is raging above your head. Wow, thank you. Thank you. All right, well, so I've got another song if you don't mind. Of course, it's all the protest marchers, right, Jeannie? About every weekend we do that. We don't march that much, but we stand around and sing songs. So anyway, one protest Saturday, somebody sang My Country 'Tis of Thee. Is that the song? And then the next person sang a song about For What It's Worth, I think. Yeah. So I said, I said, this kind of goes together. So there is a sing-along part. You will get it. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing. Let freedom ring. It's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Land where my fathers died, land of the natives' pride. From every mountainside, let the freedom ring. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. My native country thee, land of the noble free. Thy name I love, like that of above. It's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. I love the rocks and woods, thy woods and templed hills. My heart with rapture thrills, like that from above. It's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Let music swell the breeze and ring from all the trees. Sweet freedom song. Play music all night long. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Land for the rule of law, equality for all, from every mountain tall. Let freedom ring. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. All right, well, thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
Good luck.
In 1980, I was married and lived in suburban Long Island. Our dream was to move from our bedroom community and live off the grid and find a place that would be shielded from the coming apocalypse. Every summer, we'd take exploratory trips around the U.S. to scope out different areas we were interested in. We realized that the Southeast was too racist, the Ozarks too unsophisticated, Eastern California too dry, Eastern Oregon too expensive, and the lee side of Pikes Peak was just too remote. On our way back from Oregon, Feeling discouraged and tired of looking, we decided to pay a visit to a friend who had moved to northern Idaho. As we approached the small town of Sandpoint, Idaho, I had the amazing experience of spontaneously falling in love with the land. At that moment, there was no doubt in my mind that this was a sign that we had found our home. After a year of house-sitting adventures, we purchased a small house a few miles from town from a recent widow. We settled in and did some renovations. Living in this house had never been intended as our long-term plan because it was too close to town. We had been living there a year while we searched for our dream property, but my wife kept saying she was feeling that something was wrong. She insisted that we do more and more renovations to the house, thinking that would solve the problem. Finally, I balked when she said the power lines along the county road were spoiling her view. She wanted them buried underground. We argued, and I asked her what was really going on, because there had to be something more going on here than improving the view. She said that when she was at home, she felt a heaviness weighing on her like a heavy coat. At the time, we belonged to an esoteric channeling group. The leader of the group offered to help us. And after an initial channeling session, she concluded that the previous owner, who had happened to die near the woodshed, was still in residence, and that my wife was in an unconscious, conflictual relationship with him over who owned the property. The channeler suggested we try a do-it-yourself exorcism. So we read up on how to do it. We invited some friends over to assist us. We gathered in the woodshed, which is where the presence was strongly felt, and with prayers and rituals, basically told the spirit to leave us in peace. As the exorcism was ending, my wife let out a yell and doubled over as if hit in the stomach. And we took that as a sign that we had been successful. About a month later, the channeler came to visit and informed us he's still here. She told us the exorcism had just made him angry, and he was able to concentrate his energy into a ball and ram into my wife's solar plexus. It seemed we'd need to take a different approach. She advised us to get to know him through a series of channeling sessions. As she channeled him into her body, we gasped as it appeared that she had become a different person in voice, manner, and body language. As he spoke through her, we learned that he had died suddenly of a heart attack, that he was confused by his death, and that he was afraid to leave. Members of our channeling group volunteered to assist us with this ongoing communication process, and he eventually chose to move on. When he did, not only did my wife feel free of heaviness, but we were able to sell the house, which had been on the market for a year without any offers. In retrospect, I'm not sure what to believe about any of what happened. The thing is, people I knew actually saw this spirit. Our channeling group offered their services voluntarily. My wife wasn't faking the experience in the woodshed, and the home we listed for sale, when freed up from conflicted ownership, sold easily and quickly.
You've probably heard that love can break your heart. But did you know that sometimes it can break your elbow? Paul Salovey and I had our first official date on January 17th, 1984. We had been friends and madly flirting since October, when we worked together in an agency. But I was in a relationship with a half-assed boyfriend, and also had a rule never to date at work. So I told Paul we'd have to be friends. This gave us many months to get to know each other, laugh at each other's jokes, and in general, build up our desire to date. New Year's Day of 1984, I woke up and decided, getting rid of the half-assed boyfriend, and I was going to date Paul Salovey before he got away. On that first date, we ventured up to Lincoln Center to see the opera Carmen. It was snowing big fluffy flakes as we entered the opera, and those flakes were piled into deep snowdrifts when we exited. Paul asked, would I like to go sledding in Central Park that night? Of course, I said yes. However, my childhood memories of sledding were not fond ones. In fact, I hated it. As the smallest child of 5, I was often crushed under some other sibling or hanging onto my father's jacket with my tiny hands as he sped down some steep hill in Prospect Park, unaware that I had flown off and was rolling down the hill. I found sledding scary, but it was my first date with Paul Salovey. And the falling snow was a magical backdrop. The quiet hush of New York, with all sounds muffled by the snow, is always very peaceful, very surprising. We were all alone in the park, and it was white with reflected snowlight, and we sledded joyfully till midnight. The unexpected bonus was how good I felt sledding with this man. He held on to me just right. I was warm somehow, even in the icy air. I was safe in this man's care. I believe we had our first kiss on that sled. I went home to my own apartment that night, high and happy. The next morning, I simply floated into work. New York, however, was its grumpy self. Icy, slippery, slushy, dirty, as only New York can be after a horrible snowstorm. Paul Salovey was nowhere to be found. I got a call around 2 p.m. Paul was in the hospital. I was falling in love. Paul had fallen and broken his elbow. It turned out that Paul had a client lunch meeting that day, and the restaurant had not cleared the ice from their steps. He slipped and broke his elbow, but in my mind, he had been dizzy and distracted with love, and that's why he fell. Though the elbow did mostly heal, Paul could never bend his arm fully enough to reach the top button of his shirt after that. Now, this is not a problem for many men, but Paul Salovey is a dapper man. Suits, shirts, collars, ties, that's what he was wearing in those days. So therefore, the story picks up 15 years later of not being able to touch his top button. We were hosting a weekend workshop for somatic healing at our home in Hillsdale, featuring my hypnosis teacher, David Quigley, and a room full of beginners, mostly first-time hypnotists, were being trained in hands-on energy healing. We're taught how to draw red, loving earth energy up into our feet, up into our bellies, and then draw in loving light from above, golden sun, into our heart. And then we were taught to mix the heart and belly and the gold and the red energy and send it into our hands. When it reached your hands, they'd feel tingly and warm. Then we were supposed to offer that energy to a partner and try to help them feel better somewhere in their body. We paired up and practiced working on each other in quiet corners all over the house. When the class reconvened, the teacher asked, "Did anything unusual happen out there?" Paul Salve stood up, told the story of the broken elbow and the 15 years of not being able to bend his elbow fully, and proceeded to reach up and easily button the top button of his shirt. It turns out that Paul's partner, a rank beginner, had sent healing energy into his elbow, and Paul had felt waves of warm energy, and then burning energy came out his ears, so much so that they had to call the teacher over and find out if he was, in trouble. He said, "Oh, that's great." Teacher said, "That's exactly what's supposed to happen." So Paul, the only one in the room, not a trained hypnotist, and the most cynical one in the room about any of this energy stuff, was healed. Love may break your elbow, but loving energy can certainly heal it.
It's good to see everybody. So I'll read this fast. This is a prologue to a novel I'm working on. This is kind of a second rough draft. I'm mostly I'm looking for kind of creating a sense of visceral energy. So we'll see how that goes. Out of unknowing darkness, a sense of being shaken, and again, oh crap, it's Mom. School day. I thought it was Saturday, and he tries to groan. But no sound comes. Tries to open his eyes and can't. Everything's black, featureless, and he can't feel his legs or his arms. Tries to move, to get out of bed. Tries to scream, but nothing. His body only exists in his mind. He feels nothing but the non-localized shaking, and dread blooms in his gut. He's paralyzed like when he was a kid trying to wake up and unable to. Panic flushes through his discorporeal sense of self. No, this is wrong. I'm not in bed. I'm where? And the shaking gets rougher, meaner. Then comes the tink of a small sound, which as he focuses his hearing on it, expands into a distant, hollow, murmurous of many people. A mob, unseen in the dark, yelling, shrieking, coming closer, coming for him. The voices morph into a single male voice, and it's screaming so loud, and sensation flows back to him, first into his throat, so rough and raw, then his legs jerk with a violent spasm, then his hands in gloves. He wriggles his fingers. They're gripping a tube. That's familiar. Flying gloves. Am I flying? And the world around explodes into light and sound and violence, and he's falling out of the sky, plummeting, a wind-ripping, head-first terminal dive hooked into his hang glider. The screaming is his own re-embodied voice, and the glider frame bucks and shudders from the Niagara crush of wind, and in one reflexive motion, he shoves the control bar hard out, fully extending his arms over his head to rock his body back relative to the glider frame. Come on, baby, get that nose up, and the blurred purplish bruise of a sea of clouds below rushing up at him. How did I get above clouds? It was clear skies at the point. The nose of the glider grabs at the gale of wind. That's it. Then rockets upward in a split second, and whoomp goes the sail as it breaks against the wind. And the wing rotates nose up, so fast, though, through horizontal to near vertical. And he grunts at the sudden G-load, and up they go into a nose-too-high whipstall. Nausea strikes as now he's falling upward in a weightless, hanging pause. And he knows from thermal flying to pull the bar back in fast, smooth, and easy, so the nose can fall back down into a shallow recovery dive. Holding the bar steady, the glider dips, the wind surges, then backs off to a steady flow, and they're flying again. He's alive, breathing fast, pulse bam, bam, bamming in his neck, but alive. He relaxes his death squeeze on the control bar, tells himself to breathe, man, just breathe. Then, where are we? A flash of memory. The humongous sphere of spitting fire coming straight at the gaggle of flyers, streaking down on them out of the high, deep Utah blue, and the sudden shock of knowing they were all going to die. he was going to die, and all he was ever going to do and all he was ever going to be and do was going to die. And the last thing he remembers is the surge of massive grief at the image of his sweet young daughters. And who will take care of you now? He swallows back a resurgent anguish at the memory, hears his father's voice play in his head, just fly the airplane. And another deep breath. Fly the airplane. Do that first. Yeah, we got to land. Ahead through the nose flying wires lies a bizarre, uniformly featureless ocean of clouds that runs all the way to the flat horizon. In the far distance, miles away, he can just make out the perfect flat top of a plateau. He jerks his head to the right. Same view, the long, smooth monotony of lavender-tinged clouds. And two more plateaus there, one nearer, the other also on the horizon. What the hell? Where is this? Twisting around to see past the tail wires and the boot of his yellow pod harness, then back and to the left, and the view is the same. A mind flood of primal fear resurges at the thought of sinking into the purplish mass below. There could be power lines embedded in them, buildings, a mountaintop, or an ocean. Christ, it could be an ocean. That would explain why these clouds are so smooth. The glider is losing altitude. The wind in his helmet's ear holes tell him he's flying at best sink speed. But even so, he's only a few hundred feet above them. Maybe 2 minutes airtime left. Another shot of fear in his gut at the thought of the vertigo that is guaranteed to come inside a cloud. Nobody wants to fly a hang glider into a cloud. But wait, what if it's fog, not a cloud bank? What if the ground is just below the fog? Same difference. He still doesn't know what's beneath. Then something appears to the left. He cranes his neck to see, half a mile away, a road or airstrip or something. How did he miss seeing it before? No matter. He's already banked the glider toward a perpendicular course to intersect the nearest point. Fog or clouds, it's the same big unknown. Always better to land where you can see what's waiting for you. But it's going to be close. He sets up best glide speed. He'll sink a bit faster, but he'll get there sooner and with more altitude. Probably. If he makes it at all. The road looks artificial, like the plateaus on the horizon, as if carved in the clouds or fog or whatever, in a perfect straight line that stretches from one horizon to the other. He's never seen a road like that, not even across the Mojave Desert. No dips, no bumps, just flat. The air is thin, which surprises him. Maybe he's at a higher altitude than he thought. Most deserts are at lower elevation. A minute later and he's home free, plenty altitude to make the turn to a final approach, and a safe landing on what looks like a smooth, almost glassy surface more than 50 yards wide. As he banks onto final, a quick glance up through the light lavender sky makes his blood freeze. 2 suns have swung into view as he turned. One is a pinkish disk, a third of the way up from the horizon, but not as bright as the sun he knows. He's able to look at it directly. The other sun is a blue disk the size of a plum held at arm's length. A sob rises in his throat. This can't be Earth. My girls. Settling into the last 50 feet of his approach, the fog on the right side of the road reveals itself to be only a few feet high. There's a shimmer of greenish light all along it, as if an infinitely long glass wall was holding it back. But there's no glass there. Sudden darkness goes off like a bomb to his left. The other side of the road is turned into night. He no longer sees fog stretching to that horizon. Only black there now from the left edge of road, as if night had suddenly fallen over half the land. And there are shapes moving within that darkness. Dark, massive shapes.
Inwards, outwards.